Hi guys, and welcome to another video in the HSC Chemistry series, Industrial Chemistry. In this particular video we're going to be looking very briefly at some of the uses of sulfuric acid. So this is really the third section of the industrial chemistry topic, and what we're doing here is we're trying to tie in some of what we already know about sulfuric acid and what it's used for with how it's produced industrially. In order to do this, we're going to have to, I guess, just review a few of the things that we already know about sulfuric acid. Firstly, it's the strongest acid that we have in the laboratory. It's a diprotic acid, so one of the things that's important to remember, and of course we did this when we were looking through the acidic environment, is that for every 1 mole of acid, we liberate 2 H+ ions, 2 moles of H+ ions. So it's a diprotic acid. We've also looked at the property of sulfuric acid as an oxidizing agent, and this is one of the important reactions that involves the use of sulfuric acid. So an example of this is metal plus acid produces hydrogen gas and a salt. And of course, when this happens, if we think about magnesium, for example, as a solid, it will become magnesium ions and 2 electrons. And because this is electrons being lost, this is an oxidation step. And what causes the oxidation is the oxidizing agent, or the oxidant. And so therefore, it's the acid that actually is acting as the oxidant or the oxidizing agent, in this case, as the magnesium dissolves in the acid, producing magnesium ions. At the same time, of course, what we also have happening is hydrogen ions, 2 of them, are going to combine with 2 electrons to form hydrogen gas. And so that is the reduction step, and that's the component in the acid right here that is being reduced in this case. So the metal is actually acting as a reducing agent or reductant. The other one that's fairly common, of course, that we've looked at is when sulfuric acid acts as a catalyst, and it does this for a number of different reactions. We know that it's involved in the conversion either way, from ethanol to ethene or from ethene to ethanol, either in concentrated or dilute form. And it's also involved in the process of esterification. So when we add an alcohol to an carboxylic acid, then we produce an ester and water. And again, in this case, it's the sulfuric acid that is being used, concentrated sulfuric acid, to dehydrate or remove a water molecule from these 2 reactants in order to produce the products. And of course, I have written this as a single arrow, but you know that this is an equilibrium situation, so not a full arrow at all. But sulfuric acid has other uses as well, and we want to have, I guess, a quick look at some of these important ones. I've mentioned that it's a dehydrating agent. So the 2 important things to remember, I guess, when we're looking at reactions involving sulfuric acid, and that is that we are looking at it either acting as an oxidant, removing electrons from different other substances like the metals, or a dehydrating agent. And as a dehydrating agent, it's a very good choice for any reactions that involve the removal of water. And as we've said, ethanol, dehydration of ethanol, and also the esterification process are examples of this. So the reason we're talking about it is because 75% of the sulfuric acid produced in Australia is used in the manufacture of superphosphates and fertilizers. And so this is a very important context, because we know when we were looking at monitoring and management that the poor quality of Australian soils has resulted in a large use of fertilizers, and sometimes those fertilizers find their way into our waterways and potentially into our drinking water. And so we had to identify how we were going to monitor that and how we were going to remove any of those phosphates and nitrates that were in the drinking supply. But this is one of the other, I guess, factors associated with that, is that it's sulfuric acid itself that's involved in the production of these fertilizers. And in fact, it's important for you to have at least 3 key uses for sulfuric acid. And if you think about the reactions that it's already involved in that you've seen, so some important reactions are the dehydration of ethanol, and also esterification. But there's a few others as well, and both your textbook and any sites that you find online will draw you straight to these sorts of things. Because sulfuric acid is used in the production of detergents or synthetic fibers, rayon, for example. It's also used to produce explosives, often associated with things like nitric acid as well, for paints, plastics, paper, and other pigments, and also for steel production. But if you can try and focus in on a couple of the key uses that link to things that were part of your core, then it's often easier. So the dehydration of ethanol is an important one, esterification is an important one, and also the fact that sulfuric acid is the electrolyte that we use in the lead acid batteries. That gives you 3 very nice uses of sulfuric acid. Thanks for watching.